The Product Development Association sort of did a study, and some of the statistics out of that is, if you look at consumer goods, essentially products are like a coin toss, right? Half of them fail. If you're looking even at medical device, 1/3 of them are failing. Okay? So can we improve these odds? Okay? And a key consideration to doing that is if you look at your target customers, right? The first thing that you need to do is to identify a need that is not addressed today. Many times we sort of feel that we have an idea. This would make a fantastic product. That's great, but if you're now going and trying to get money from venture capital or others to fund your product, the first thing they will want to know is who are the users and how many there are. Because that is only going to determine the valuation, right? It's not good enough to suddenly say, you know what, hey, coffee maker, if I put Bluetooth on that, that's a fantastic thing. Nobody has a Bluetooth and coffee maker together. I mean, people are just coming out with it, but there are not a lot of those things. It may be a great idea, but before somebody seriously puts money into it, how many people, I mean, what need is it really serving, right? And how many people would be really interested in buying Bluetooth coffee makers? You have to answer that question. So first thing when you're trying to do product development is to find that there is a need that is not well addressed in the marketplace. You have to start with the market and then come up with the idea. You cannot start with a product first approach. Product first approach is typically not successful. If you look at electric cars, right? If you think of electric cars, what's the first company that comes to your mind? Electric car companies. Tesla, right? And are there other people who make electric cars? But Nissan Leaf does, right? BMW does. Chevy Volt is just coming out with one, right? But what is the big difference between, let's say, a Nissan Leaf, which is probably the second most popular electric car, and the Tesla that is out there? The big differentiator is that the Nissan Leaf only does 70 miles per charge. Okay? 70 miles claimed, but when you go in winter, you get a knockdown factor of maybe probably a 50 miles per charge. Now, how many people in this area are willing, I mean, commutes are probably longer than 50 miles per hour. How many people are now willing to buy a Nissan Leaf, right? It's not meeting the customer need, right? That, you could argue, is a little bit of product first thinking. We're going to make an electric car. The cost of this electric car should be somewhere around $25,000, right? Government gives you rebate. So if I make a car within $32,000 with rebate, I hit the price point. That's great. But now you have constrained a feature that is very critical for customers. You have what is called range anxiety, right? To make an electric car successful, you have to go to the extent that Tesla is. Like with the Model 3, right? That is also going to be around the 35,000, but it has a range of, when he announced it, right, Elon Musk, it has a range of 200 plus miles. But to get to that, he is building, I mean, aside from the car company, he's building a battery company in Nevada, which is essentially doubling the lithium battery capacity of the entire world. That is what it takes to make an electric car which meets customer need. So you get the idea that you cannot just have a product and sort of put it out there, because if you don't understand what the user needs are and address that, product not going to be very successful. The second generation of these electric cars, like Anu said, the Chevy Volt, right? That is going to be a 200 miles per charge type car. Okay? So how do we understand these user needs? We'll do an exercise a little later on that. So step one is to understand the user needs, and then is to come up with a product idea or definition that will meet that need. If your piece doesn't fit the user need, not going to be very successful again. Okay? All right. And in terms of asking customers or going to the marketplace and saying, oh, what do you need, right? They are not really good sources of expressing their need. And this is a very famous quote by Ford where, when he's way back, I think 1900s or something, he sort of said, yeah, if you asked his customers what they wanted, they cannot visualize a car, right? They would have just said faster horses. So just going and asking customers what do you need is not the best approach or best way you're going to get that information. What you really have to do is to get a deep understanding of the use environment. This is going back to like Jane Goodall, etc., who really lived amongst the chimpanzees and sort of understood what the behavior was. Okay? You cannot sort of stand outside and observe customers. Okay? And in this technique, there is this phrase called, you really have to swim with the fishes, right? Immerse yourself in that use environment to understand what features or what troubles people are having, and then come back and design your product. Okay? Example on this case, right? Well, what does this, you have elderly parents, etc., right? They might be on different medication. And you see there are a lot of innovation on this kind of product line. There are pill boxes with alarm settings. You can also have pill boxes with, for the whole month, like 4 of these things, right? What are they trying to solve? I know of people who will once a month go for, drive 2 hours and take all the pills and arrange it for their elderly parents, right? I'm not sure anybody here is having to do that, but you can visualize, and maybe your parents are not yet old enough for this kind of a solution, but a lot of, people doing in this one. But if you now immerse yourself into that problem and truly understand that, right? I guess a local company, very innovative. We'll see how, they're not public yet, but there is a company called PillPack. Some of you have heard of this, right? But what they do is take your prescription and put it into individual packets. So instead of getting a bottle of medicine A, bottle of medicine 2, medicine 3, and you having to do that, they will ship to you this thing with the pills and the time. You have to take it on this day at 8 a.m. These are the 3 things to take. At 12, these are the 2 things to take. It's got a lot of investment, but again, this idea comes about by sort of experiencing or getting an understanding of what the user need is. Okay? The question now always becomes, how many should we talk to, right? The default assumption always is more the better, right? Anything with data, right? Is always, large sample sizes. But actually, people have done some work, and this is the reference down here. But they have done some modeling which basically says you can get 80% of the user needs, talking to about 16 odd customers. Beyond that, you're going to hear a lot of repeats, if you will, right? So 16 is not a very large number. It's definitely easy to handle that. And when we have done studies like this, usually these involve like an hour-long conversation with the, targeted customers, if you will. And an hour-long conversation, if you record it, there are sort of resources in Philippines, India, who will now transcribe that to you for actually very little money. Sometimes it varies, like 5 to 10 cents per word, depending on the field. And so it'll come out to like 17, 22 pages of text, that transcript that you have to review. And I'm just giving you that information because that's what we'll be doing next.